It was a year ago that we started this church, and unbelievable what God has done in a very short time. And some of you, this is your first time ever to church. Now, some of you, you've never been to church in a gym. Neither had I, like a year ago. But we started exactly a year ago. It was actually on October 2nd, talking about what if we could be a church that's not just in the neighborhood, but for the neighborhood. For the neighborhood.
Here we are, Stratford Middle School.
Oh man. Look at this.
First thing that hit you. For me, it's smaller than I remember.
Yeah.
It's like the ceilings are lower.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that hit me was like, oh, this was a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was so much work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also just all the conversations. I remember pivotal moments in people's lives. John Sipperly, who now lives in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
I prayed with him.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying to me, will you pray for my boys? Right there.
Who are in my Alpha Circle now.
No.
Which is cool. Let's check out the cafeteria, because before we had our grand opening here, our church technically started in there. So let's check out the old cafe.
Gosh. Yeah.
So this room that we're entering, we had in April of 2011, 6 months before our launch, what we called our info night.
Yeah.
And in that corner, we literally built a little plywood stage for you.
Yeah, Brian Steck built it.
Yeah.
Remember? It was super heavy.
And our core team, which was 20 people for 6 months, I was still in Kansas City.
Yeah.
You were casting vision to them about, what Mission Church was going to be. And then this was our first public thing that we did, saying, hey, we're a church. We want to redefine what church is and what church could be. And this was the room where we invited people into that for the very first time.
That's right.
Any names come to mind or stories from that night?
John and Tiffany Frank.
Yeah.
I just remember because remember we had those cards made?
Uh-huh.
And
the options?
Yeah, the options.
Commit.
It was like just being our street team.
Yeah. Which was like tell people
about it, come to the launch. And then one was, obviously, the big one was join.
We definitely asked for money.
Yeah. and I think the big one was
commit to
the launch team.
So we attended the launch team meeting, and they handed out these cards at the lunch team meeting, and it was, I would love to join the lunch team. And I didn't really do anything with the card at the time, but later that night I got an email from John, and I looked at it and I said, Tiffany, what is this all about? And it said, John's email essentially said, I'm so glad that you guys decided to join the launch team. And I said, we did? As Mission sort of lifted off the ground, and, what can only be described as like the Holy Spirit, like just filling us up. And, that ended up culminating, at one point with me walking away from my job on Wall Street and taking a job at the church.
That was one of the most pivotal moments of my entire life, that moment. Leaving his job on Wall Street to come to Mission. Not sure I would have drawn up that plan, quite frankly, but that was such a moment of surrender for us as a couple and me personally, that has actually just opened up so many paths over these last 10 years of being able to look back and see God's faithfulness through those kind of decisions. And so what a catalyst in just our whole life.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. No way.
Here it is.
Yeah, no different.
Literally the same. So I thought the stallions were bigger now that I see them.
Yeah,
the demon eyes are exactly how I remember them.
They're just as red as they were.
But yeah, so every Sunday through those doors at 6 a.m., an army of volunteers would just, I mean, it doesn't matter if it was raining, snowing, people would load in 3 trailers full of chairs.
Chairs.
So the chairs that ended up getting set up weren't in the building hours beforehand, and all of the equipment. And so, yeah.
Yeah, showing up early, staying late.
Yeah. It was not easy doing church here.
It
Right.
was,
Like,
it was
it
incredibly hard. There's a back hallway over here. You remember that? There was a little bathroom. That was my
Green room?
My green room. So I remember that spot because I wanted to quit many times back in that little spot. I remember preaching sick once. I was so sick. I had the flu. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
You had a puking pail on
I
stage
do
with me
remember
the whole
that.
service. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember Karen Gronowski.
Yeah.
Her daughter Julia, who's now
Well,
Julia Irvin.
Well, Julia and Hannah were, high schoolers.
Mission has been one of those catalysts that I think of in my life as kind of one of the things that I've seen in my growing up, just having been here for 10 years and that being a big chunk of my life. When I started here at Mission, I was a teenager, and joining Mission at that time was such a sweet time because I feel like God used it to say, here's how you can enter into a church as a young adult. And I was accepted onto the worship team with adults and into circles with adults, and it helped grow and mature me in ways that I don't think I would have had. Every weekend I was playing keys and loving being a part of a church that was so different, and just it felt fresh and exciting. And I love that even 10 years later, it doesn't feel like that has faded. There is so much energy behind this mission, and I think that's what has caused it to be so impactful for me, that it's not something that just started a mission and fueled an idea, but it's something that has lasted and has continued, and it's still exciting to be a part of because the vision is something that will go forever. We want to see a movement of Jesus, and that has not stopped, and it won't.
I had just left a church that had just this bold, courageous heart for the family. And so I knew, and being a young mom and young parents at that time, we had to have that same plan in place for this church, Mission Church. The vision of just creating a space for a family to come to call home. I was really excited about, just so passionate about that, where kids and students could come and have a safe space to ask questions. And on Sundays, when the doors open and families come, there's these small children that just kind of run and at me, and they hug my wayside and they say, Miss Jess, I'm just so excited to see you. And I can't just not think of that moment where, the Father invites us to run to Him and just wrap our arms around Him. As I look back at the last 10 years, I can truly just feel and sense and see God's faithfulness in our church, through our families, through the teams of volunteers, through the spaces we've been able to gather in, and it's just been a wonderful decade.
Back at the old alma mater, in the lobby, Lake Park High School.
Wow.
West Campus, to clarify. What comes back to you here in the lobby?
The first thing is just how confusing this place is. I think we spent most of our time lost.
Yeah.
We had a big pipe and drape thing right here.
Yeah, because...
Well, we had Legacy launched.
In here, 2017.
2017, yeah.
Yep, and they met here during the first service, and they went to service. And when people, after they'd leave the lobby, they would have about a 5-minute journey. A lot of zigzagging through these hallways. And actually on our signs, I don't know if you remember this, on our signage, every so often we had a sign and we had a clock at the top. And we actually let people know about how much longer you have to arrive at your destination. There's the first big creepy lancer on the wall that people got to see.
Well, murals were really big back when we were in high school. I think this was done when we were graduating, late 90s.
Yeah.
What's amazing is the story, though, of how we got here. Because we tried to launch here instead of Stratford Middle.
Yeah.
And we thought for sure we're going to be, they're going to let us in here. We both graduated here.
With so much honors.
With no honors. And so we just thought it was going to be great, but it went to a school board vote, and it was unanimous no. And I remember Justin and I were in that boardroom, and we could not believe it.
Yeah.
Disappointed, embarrassed, felt so defeated. Long story short, God opens a door at Stratford Middle. Obviously, that's where we start. And then we're out of room. And then the lead team was like, hey, I think we should probably, launch at Lake Park West.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, I don't think we should.
Tried that.
Didn't work. I drew the short, the short straw. So I had to start meeting with some of the leadership here. That led into a lot of meetings that you and I had with John Frank and Justin, our lead team, with their administration.
Yeah.
They were amazing. Like, everything was incredible. They really received us with open arms, but everything led to another vote.
Yep.
And we had, in many ways, like, burned the ships. We're like, this is our only option. What are we going to do if this doesn't go through? It came to a school board vote in August. Everyone was praying, and it went, which was amazing, from what first was a unanimous no to unanimous yes.
We call it graduating, right? Started in a basement, then a junior high, middle school, then we went to Lake Park. And to walk in there, for me, it was the same lockers that I had walked through, that John had walked through, that Tommy had walked through, and just the flood of memories of God's faithfulness. Just thinking, how many stupid things I had done, different things I had done, and to now kind of see God's just the irony, the sense of humor in it, to say, I am going to take and restore something that you really at that point had no vision of the kingdom. It was almost like a second chance. It was almost being able, a lot of times we stay in life, we see things, we're like, man, if I could only go back. Well, we were able to go back to school. We were able to go back to high school and basically walk through those same hallways and bring our friends and bring people and share Jesus with them.
To be inviting people to go on this journey with you and to see them walk through the door and actually say yes was a really awesome experience to have.
Wow. There she is.
The cafeteria. Which we did everything in here except eat. We didn't eat.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Sunday mornings, Mission Kids had turf rolled out.
That's right.
Tents set up. These little, they weren't full tents, and they had the different age groups in there. High school met on, I can't even remember what day, but back in the back corner of this cafeteria in the evenings and out on that patio. Growth track.
We had our partner gatherings kind of in here, and then obviously Alpha. This is where we kicked off Alpha. I mean, that's when I walked in, that's the first thing I thought of.
Alpha,
Like, so much prayer, so much excitement, anticipation of launching Alpha, and we just saw God show up. And so our circle, but I think there was maybe 40 or 50 people that first Alpha course.
Yeah.
And it was...
there's like 8 circles or something. I think we probably did 3 Alpha courses in here, but this is really where the spirit dependency that has become true of our church happened. It started in this room, really through Alpha and the partner gatherings.
In the winter of 2017, we started our first Alpha course in the cafeteria at Lake Park West. And people prayed to receive faith in Jesus for the very first time, and we were like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, this is happening. We were going into Alpha nights praying for people to for friendships to form, for them to actually ask the serious questions that they're carrying, and for God to meet them there, because we might not be able to solve their biggest, deepest question there on the spot. But God's faithfulness, when he shows up and meets you in your questions among a community of friends that are there to listen and love, God's Spirit goes to work, and they become receptive to who Jesus is as they hear about him over these Alpha talks. 11 courses later, we now have, we've had over 1,500 people in total go through our courses. So we're coming up on 2,000 people in our Alpha course here at Mission Church. The baptisms that have come out of Alpha every single term, more people go public with their faith through baptism. And so it has been one of the most catalytic things we've done as a church. And we're just praying that God's hand continues to be on it as more people try Alpha, the team continues to grow, and he gets more and more glory as people share stories of Jesus has saved me.
The auditorium.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I forgot how big this room was.
It looks huge. I mean, it's like, wow.
The blue chairs.
Lance are blue.
Wow. So cool. What's part of the story is, when they unanimously said, yeah, come on back, we invested in this school. I mean, we invested in this room, these screens.
About 80 grand or something,
the
I remember.
projectors, the sound equipment, and it's all still here.
It's awesome.
It's all still.
Wait, those speakers.
Oh yeah,
Those.
Yeah.
I recognize those. And I think maybe that projector.
What names come to mind in this room for you?
Oh my goodness. I think of Mark Bradley, Jill, of course. Mark, that first row. They
usually with his foot up on the.
Yeah, he put his foot up on the railing, and just seeing his life transformed by the gospel. His wife, his daughter Jordan, their baptism. On this stage. I mean, the amount of probably a couple hundred friends getting baptized on this right here. In a high school auditorium.
Yeah, that was special. What do you remember about what was going on in your heart and soul as we went from here to where we are now, 82 Stratford Drive?
Yeah, of course, so many memories like we're doing right now. The number one thing though, and I know you felt the same thing, was when Moses was talking to God and God was saying it's time to move. And then Moses says back to God, I only want to go if your presence comes with us. And that was our heart. And we just said, God, we're ready to have our own space. We're grateful, but only if you go with us. Only if your presence will be there, that you'll transform a former lazy boy into sacred ground. And man, has he been faithful to do exactly that.
He's been with us.
Yeah, 100%. Amazing.